This is probably the most heartbreaking book that I have ever read this year. Hello everyone and welcome to another Daniel Reads Reviews, where I'll be discussing with you a new book. Alright, so the book of the week was The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, and it's a fantasy / history fiction. So the book basically talks about a war orphan that goes by the name of Fang Runan in an attempt to escape her miserable life from her adoptive parents, who are basically drug dealers. She goes and takes an exam that goes by the name of the Keiju. Basically an exam that determines her ability to enter several schools across the country, but only one school on full scholarship, which is Senegard, a military school, and it's very, very vicious and very brutal, and it's very hard to get into. Of course, Runan aces her exam and goes to this military school, but little did she know that this school is more than just martial arts. Alright, so let's talk about the writing real quick, because oh my god, this author has my heart. R.F. Kuang can just have all of my money, because like as soon as I finished this book, I looked up the second book and the third book in the trilogy. Just so amazing how she is able to write such an amazing and rich book. Like the content is more than just fantasy. I loved the details of the military school and martial arts and everything that it revolved around, because like it takes inspiration a lot from China and the Chinese culture, and you can see the parallels a lot between modern China and Nikan. It's just amazing how she was able to just write such a masterpiece. It was so smooth, it was so detailed, it's very gripping. As far as the content of this book goes, I'm just gonna like plug in a few trigger warnings, because I don't think that this book is for the faint-hearted, because it's very gruesome, especially in like the killings and the brutal things that happen there. For example, there is mention of rape, mention of abuse, mention of drugs. If you are not comfortable reading such content, then I'd suggest you stay away from this book. But other than that, the content is amazing. Now, there is fantasy in this book, but it was very inspired by the Chinese culture and the Asian culture in general, where there were mentions of shamans and being one with the elements and going to the pantheon of the gods and the spiritual world. It was very, very unique and it was very interesting. I have never read anything like this before, and in such beautiful details. It was amazing. Every scene, detail of it all, basically, like it was amazing. And the feelings that it gives you while you read along and see how the characters develop and how the plot twists keep on coming and revelations that come to you along the way. It's just more than magic and martial arts. It's very unique. Now, before I talk about the characters, because the characters in this book were amazing, I want to talk about the tropes that you might bump into in this book, because there are a lot of amazing tropes in this. But what you're not gonna find is straightforward love triangles or straightforward anything, actually. Like, it's amazing, because I don't want the sappy love stories to be there so soon. Even though this book is like what, 500 and something pages, I still did not miss the romance, even though there were angsty, unresolved feelings between the characters, and you can like see it as bright as the sunlight outside. Yeah, it was unique. Like, it was very, there are the friendship tropes, the master and student trope, like they're like father and daughter. There is the commander and subordinate trope. There's like a lot of cool tropes that are in this book. Point blank. Okay, so I don't want to spoil the book for you, but in order to speak about the characters, I'm gonna have to like navigate my way through the spoilers, and I'm sorry if I like put any spoiler out by mistake. So of course there are the characters that Runan stumbles upon when she enters Senegard. The first person that she meets from her class is called Nizha, who is gonna turn out to be her biggest frenemy ever throughout the years in Senegal. Then she's gonna meet the girls in her dorm. There are only 2 girls with her that year, and one of them is snobbish, who is Vinka, and is stuck to Nizha because like they grew up together, the rich kids or whatever. And then there's this other girl who's actually sweet and nice to Ren for shorts. And then Ren also meets the rich boy, but who is also very nice to her, and he is called Kite. I loved Kite's character a lot because he was very logical, he was very smart, he had a photographic memory, which means that he doesn't have to study. Not jealous at all. Yeah, he was like the sweetest friend to her ever, especially in this very hard journey that they went through in this military school. Speaking of the school, the characters, the masters in this school were all very mild characters, except for like the combat teacher, who is called June. He was very snobbish and he actually kicked Rin out of class just because she had a quarrel with Nizha. Typical, excluding the country girl and leaving the rich boy intact. I feel too bad for Rin because that way she got to meet the master of the lore. Now, lore was a joke class in Senegal Academy because basically the teacher was never there. They were just expected to sit in a garden full of poppy. Poppy was one of the drugs that were used at that time. Basically, Jiang, the lore master, would just get high and just annoy every teacher in the school grounds. Little did they know that lore was more than just getting high. And Rin is gonna grow to know that Jiang is more than just the joke of the school. I loved Jiang's character a lot. He was witty, he was funny, he just didn't take everything so seriously unless it was about lore. He just didn't take any students in unless he knew that they were in it 100%. He was the most unique character in this book that you would ever stumble upon. Alongside Altan. Altan was basically the star student in this school. He was the last person who comes out of the island of Spear, which is also called the Island of the Dead. The Spearleys went into genocide years back during the Poppy Wars, and there were no survivors but Altan. No one but Altan, I guess. I don't want to spoil. So yeah, Altan was a special character as well, and Rin is gonna get to know him more and more when she graduates from Senegal and enters his squad, the division of the Psychs. I want to talk a lot about the divisions, and the Psych is like the freak squad in the military. But yeah, she gets to meet a lot of unique personalities in the Psych. These are the characters in general, and I'm sure that if you read the book, you're gonna get to meet them more in detail, and you're gonna love them as much as I did and more. So the Poppy War was not just a book for the brave-hearted souls. It's also for those who can tolerate pain and emotional abuse, because this book was very heartbreaking. It had some very heartbreaking scenes. It was just full of emotions. I almost cried like maybe more than 7 times while reading this book, but I held my ground. I did not cry, but I kept thinking about the events for hours and hours and days even. Like I would just go back to that scene or back to that character and be like, holy shit, this book. I just, I loved this book so much. Alright, so all in all, you can tell that I adored this book a lot. I actually highlighted a few quotes inside, but I didn't put banners here, which is very strange because I usually do that. But it was because like I was so into this book, I didn't want to miss a minute, so I would just like highlight and then just continue reading. I didn't bother with the stickers or anything, which can tell you how gripping this book really is. So yeah, I really enjoyed it thoroughly. I think that it is my favorite fantasy read of this year. No exaggeration whatsoever. I really loved this book so much. So yeah, I hope that you pick it up as well and experience this wonder of a fantasy, because R.F. Kuang did an amazing job as a Chinese American author. She's only 25, by the way. She's like very young, like she's my age, and she wrote such amazing books. Very inspiring. Alright, so that is it for today's review. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you stick around for next week's review. And until next time, see ya and bye!